Why did you decide on digital marketing in your early 20s?
Nobody picks digital marketing. We don't pick this. The most interesting and talented people that I know did not study marketing. When people tell me I want to go into marketing, I just say, why? Why do you want to do that? Of all the things that you can do, you're consciously choosing to do this, and they think it's good for the money, and it's not. You don't need a degree in marketing to work in marketing.
There are different skills you can learn when starting a business in marketing. One is marketing, and two is business stuff. And they're two very different things. There are a lot of marketers in this industry who don't know a damn thing about business.
Some people want to go from nothing and then within a year have their own successful business where they had no skills prior. It's not going to happen.
What have you gained from being your own boss? Everything is your fault.
That freaks some people out.
If an employee is constantly messing something up, it's your fault for not having the right processes in place and not training them well. If you have done both of those and they're still messing up, then you did a shitty job hiring them.
When you are the boss, you decide all those things. What are your hours? When do you work? What are your limits?
We're actually continuing from our last episode into a part 2 because a potential or future female agency owner reached out to me directly with 10 really, really good questions. And we were only able to get through, I think, 5 of them or 6 of them. I think it was 5 of them in like an hour. So we broke it up into 2 parts. So this is continuing off of Teresa's questions that she asked us.
That I haven't heard either or looked at. So it's
right. You have
happening in real time.
You have not seen these. I can't remember if we ended off at question number 6 or I'm still coughing. It's going to be some editing. Or if we stopped at, if we answered question 5 and we got off. Well, it looks like we answered 6 of them. So
I thought you said we had 4 left and that they were all heavy.
Yeah.
So we had to give more time to it.
We do. Okay. So we're going to continue on number 7. Okay. Question number 7.
Number 1 this time. It feels weird to call them number 7.
Well, I'm going to say number 7. And if they haven't listened to episode 74, then they're going to have to go back and hear the first 6.
My opinion, I'm not looking. You're the one looking at you've got the whole plan.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a 2-parter.
That feels like a 7. I feel okay.
All right.
Like 7.5.
When you were my age, in your early 20s, deciding on career choices, why did you decide digital marketing?
Teresa.
Let's answer that one first.
What?
Cody, let's answer that one first. Why did you decide on digital marketing in your early 20s?
Nobody picks digital marketing. We don't pick this. We do this because we decided to try harder later in life. I've said that before. No, I mean, some people do pick this. I don't know why. And I tell them that because when I talk to college kids now and they say, oh, I'm studying marketing and I want to go into marketing and I want to, I guess it's different. If you want to go into like big branding marketing for like sports teams and that sort of thing, that's a little different. But when people tell me I want to go into marketing, I just say, why? Why do you want to do that? Of all the things that you can do, you're consciously choosing to do this, and they think it's good for the money, and it's not compared to the things that you can do at the time when you're young and you choose those sorts of things. So why did I choose it? I didn't choose it. I don't know if I've given this story, but I can tell it again quickly if I haven't. I was senior year of college. I was working at K Jewelers. I was hating my life. I think I was there for like 3 months. And when I say hating my life, it was entirely me. The people there were great. I had a great boss, great coworkers, all that sort of thing. Just, I'm not meant to be there. Um, and so I took a short gap and I didn't know what I was doing. And uh, my girlfriend at the time, Jenny, her sister's boyfriend, got a job at a startup, and he was smart. So I just asked if I could talk to him, and I learned more about what he was doing. I knew that he worked remotely; he could work at home sometimes. He got to do the cool life thing where you had the laptop, and sometimes you put your feet up, and it was all very cool looking. And I thought, yeah, I want that lifestyle. I want to be able to work from anywhere. I want to do the laptop thing. I want the online anywhere from anywhere in the world. That that sort of life. And interviewed there, didn't go well, not at all. I interviewed for the PPC team, didn't do that. That didn't work. But they accepted me on SEO. I later switched, but only after learning SEO. And
Oh, so you got a job at your sister's boyfriend's same. Oh, you guys work together?
uh, girlfriend's
Girlfriends.
girlfriend's sister's boyfriend. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, we worked at the
Okay.
same spot though
Cool.
for
I
a
didn't know
short
that.
while. But yeah, no, so this wasn't a conscious choice. And then it was just, I think when you graduate or when you're young, you just take the opportunities you're given and then you max them out. So this was my chance and I went as hard as I could. And it wasn't a conscious decision. It was just what ended up working. And it was in the lifestyle path that I wanted. And I tried to make the most of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know my story. Well, I covered it I talked about a little bit about it in a couple episodes, like episode 65, when I talk about from broke to 200K. But before that, like actually getting into marketing, it was like a similar story. I was uh, in college, but not really knowing what I wanted to do. I think I was in logistics for like business administration, and I got fired from a printing company as a shipping manager for a really weird reason. Quote: "My heart wasn't in it," and they let me go. So that was weird.
That sounds like
Um,
the thing you say when that's not the reason and there's a different reason, but it's an at will state. So they don't want to.
so I got approval in June to or July of that year to go to Ireland and work with Guinness and get my green belt in Six Sigma engineering and through the college, and because this is logistics, that's what I'm going to school for. And I got approval from the CEO. The CEO approved it and everything. This is like in February, and then like a week later, I called in my boss's office and was like, "We just don't think your heart's in it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So like, I get approval to go further my education and my career, but then they're like, "No, no, no, we want you to make $16 an hour as a shipping manager for the next 30 years." That's how I took it. Anyways, I was on unemployment for like a week until I got a job by applying to the advertising agency across the street, which was Mud Advertising, which is ultimately where Cody and I met. Got a job as an entry level client service manager, just kind of worked myself up, eventually became an account executive in the agriculture division. All of this is within less than 2 years. Churn and turnover was super high at this agency, so opportunity was also really high if you stuck around long enough. So uh, that's kind of where I got my feet wet in digital marketing. I mean, they did everything. They did everything from traditional print and radio to TV ads to actual digital. But the big money was in digital in terms of being an account executive because one, it was reoccurring, where like a TV spot was like a one time production and then like they just aired it. On top of that, the margins on media buying for like actual radio placements weren't like super great. So um, digital was like high margin, reoccurring revenue. So and it was relatively easy, right? You could learn all digital by yourself. So that's where I learned everything, including like learning WordPress. Shout out Andrew Vick for
Vic,
yeah, my guy.
I like that guy.
For it was so funny because he would like when we built a website for an agriculture client, he would walk them through the WordPress website, and then I was learning it as well. So I would sit next to next to him while he did that, and because it was like a video call or with no video. I would just like get on my phone because I have ADHD. So like I just like scrolling through my phone. I remember one time he like didn't even look at me. He was just like walking through the whole website and like on speakerphone with the client, and he just reached over and he just grabbed my phone out of my hand. And I was like, I felt so stupid. I was like, oh God. But
Millennials.
I know. Uh, but yeah, that's how I got into digital marketing. So when Cody says like people don't like choose this, very little people will go, I want to do digital marketing. So Teresa, I think you're the minority here of wanting to actually do that and going to school for it, which I think is cool. And it can be very fruitful if you like if you're really going to go into the agency space and start your own agency. Otherwise, I would maybe encourage you to listen to episode 62 with Alec, where he does PPC and makes pretty good money working for a small company that has big clients.
For sure.
Um, but the second part to that question is, what did you wish you could have done sooner in your education or work history to make you more successful today? This could be different resources you wished you had sooner, education, people you talked to for advice, etc.
Well, okay, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
But do you have what you want to say?
I did until you said that, and then I instantly forgot it because the pressure made me forget it.
Gotcha. All right.
You say wait, no, I got it. Just say it again, and then it'll magically come back. I'm confident.
All right. What did you wish you could have done sooner in your education or work history to make you more successful today?
I wish I would have majored in STEM, something in STEM. I mean, the reality is that you don't need a degree in marketing to work in marketing. And in fact, the most interesting and talented people that I know did not study marketing to work in marketing. Dave was a music composition major. Aaron, if you remember him, he was history, right? I mean, all those things are cool. I mean, but as far as earning potential goes, STEM, I wish I would have done something further in that. Um, I don't know what, probably something deeper in computer science. So I could actually do programming of some sort. Um, but as far as accelerating learning, nothing. Based on the cards I was dealt, I'm happy with the path that I chose. I think, I did a few smart things early on. I switched teams after a year because my learning acquisition was just slowing down. You learn a lot of things quickly early on. And then when there's less to learn, you learn things like fewer things over time, unless you jolt yourself. So I switched teams and then I forced myself to do that. And then after the second year, I went to a new company entirely, which again, did a few things. Income, big raise, but also I got to learn a new way of doing everything, business wise, not necessarily the skills themselves. So, I mean, all of that, I guess I could have started things even sooner. I just didn't have the confidence to do it. The business acumen, it wasn't a lack of skill that I was okay, but the confidence to handle the business portion of things. Um, but I think that some people want to go from, nothing and then within a year have their own successful business where they had no skills prior. It's not going to happen. Right. I mean, and if it does, congrats, good job. Happy for you. I think it's a pretty precarious position to be in, and that you've probably gotten lucky in a certain amount. And everybody does to some extent, but I think putting in the time and spending the years getting good, and then once you're good, going and figuring out the rest as far as the like building the business goes. But first, you got to have skills, and I think I worked that as optimally as I could time wise. Jake,
Uh, Yeah. So I also want to preface this because I don't think you know this. Teresa is in school for marketing right now.
It's fine.
So
I'll keep killing her hopes and dreams if you know.
uh, what we don't want you to do is to switch your major or drop your major or anything like that, because marketing is still a very good skill to learn, especially in school. I learned a lot about marketing in school. Um, what I would suggest, maybe, or what I would have wish I would have done, especially being a business owner, I think that's the key here, because there are different skills you can learn when starting a business in marketing. One is marketing, and two is business stuff. And they're two very different things. I would get into details, but I don't want to call anybody out. There are a lot of marketers in this industry who have very successful businesses who don't know a damn thing about business. And
And the inverse. There's a lot of extremely talented marketers who just can't run a business.
right. Um, well, that is what I was saying. The inverse would be a lot of good business owners who can't do any kind of marketing. That'd
Wait,
be
I
the
thought you said it was
inverse.
the other way around.
Nope.
What?
Well, maybe I don't know. I don't have a rewind button in my brain, so this
People
might be a
have
maybe be a cut.
or they're gonna listen and be like, well, I do have a rewind button, so I can
Yeah,
see how this actually played out.
like one of you is stupid. Um, so I think what I would have done is go to school for accounting as a business owner. If I knew I was going to go into school for marketing, or I mean, sorry, go into the marketing agency space, I really want to know accounting because I want to know. I'd want to know my numbers better and P and Ls and things like that. I'd also want to know like logistics. Like logistics, if I would have finished that, that would have been really good to know. Just general business savviness. Dude, this cough is getting to me. But I there was there were a couple salons in Kansas City, and Lauren went to one of them, and I can't remember what they're called, but one of them she went to quite a bit, and it was a very successful salon. And part of the reason is because the owner not only like did the work and learned the salon industry and just kind of cosmetology and uh, you know the other hair stuff, I guess, but also went to school for business. And if you're going to own a salon, I think going to school for business is a very important thing to do. There's another salon who had people there who kind of talked shit on them because they went to business school and not hair school, and saying that they were very business focused and that's a dumb thing to do. And really, I think that they could take a lesson from someone who knows about business in that kind of space. So, if you plan on starting your own business, learning the things about business is probably the most important thing to do, because one of the most important jobs of a business owner is hiring and getting the right team in place to do the things that the business owner can't do. And the more you grow, it's going to be, you're not going to be able to do anything in the business. You're going to do everything on the business.
Well, yeah, if you're doing it right.
Yeah. So, all right. Number 8.
Yep.
It's kind of a long one. So it starts off with a little bit of a story and then it goes into the question. So, uh, with any company, the financial startup cost can sometimes be immense, but it's not just the money. It's the initial stress, anxiety, and time management. When starting anything new, I expect a learning curve and mistakes to ultimately work towards efficiency and mastery. Even as your business grows, I can only imagine what the effect of late hours and the hustle mindset can do to your overall happiness and productivity. What have you done to allow yourself mental breaks and enjoyment?
Nothing. No enjoyment.
We say this as Cody and I are like literally dying. Like this, life has been sucked out of us this week.
Yeah, that's that, but that is the unspoken agreement that you are consciously willingly sacrificing most likely years of your life on a gamble that may or may not pay off. That in the future, you will have whatever it is that you wanted more of. And that's why you did the business in the first place. But you're paying for those costs up front so that you can have them later. And that's, if you want to be a S tier employee or that sort of thing, you'll never deal with that because you'll just have it be a constant. It might be hard, but it'll be comparatively balanced. Um, but to answer the question directly, what have you done? Or what have I done? Um, Man, it's not the business itself that's the hardest thing. It's the business and everything else. If it's just the business, everything is fine. It's the business and trying to have any other healthy life. And you do your best, right? And you know that sometimes you're lifting some things up and taking other things and pulling them down temporarily, and you just do your best to do those things consciously and know that you're doing it and don't let them accidentally happen and slip, right? Because that's when you end up with the really big regrettable life mistakes, I think.
Yeah. And I remember talking to my roommate about this because like he would want to go out and like go drinking across the street or something, and we just had it was March of 2021, like you remember, and I was like I can't. And I remember saying that sometimes it sucks because I feel like I'm throwing away my 20s in order to like live really good 40s, and you only get that one like party stage of your life before like you can't like go out and party before it's weird. Like you
Before,
see, you see like 40-year-olds at clubs and you're just like, what are you doing here?
Mm.
And so it was like a risk. Like I don't, he was perfectly okay. And I've said this on the podcast before too. Like he was perfectly okay with just like clocking in, clocking out, coming home, playing video games in his entire 20s and just like, hanging out with friends and then doing that until he's 65 and then, retiring. And I'm not like, I want to be like late 30s and, I can choose not to work if I want to. I mean, I won't because I'll always work, but I want that freedom. And I kind of wish I did this with the other questions, but I kind of want to just like read what I said because I basically said I don't give myself breaks. But it's not the break. It's not having breaks that tears at me. Um, so I'll try to read it in a way that I'm just like talking on the podcast, but maybe it won't sound so scripted. But this is basically my response. I said I hate the quote hustle mindset, but I know what you mean. I do want to point out, though, that there really isn't any financial startup to an agency. So just remember to check out episodes 141 and 56. We talk about how little it costs to start an agency in literally all of those. I go on to say that I love video games, like a lot, like a stupid amount. I spent a lot of time playing Gears of War, Halo, Destiny, and even RuneScape and Fortnite in before the agency and even during the early agency days. But what I found was I actually enjoyed growing and working on the business more than doing the thing I did to relax, which was playing video games. It was really hard for me to play with the homies and not think to myself, quote, I could be writing a blog post right now or working on a website. There's always something to do to keep moving forward. It took me 6 months to get my first client. That client lasted 2 months. And then it took me another 10 months to get my second client when I partnered with Cody. In this 20-month period, so basically when I started Evergrow, the brand in 2017, and when we actually partnered up in 2019, I said I was working a lot on the Evergrow brand and engaging with the community. So that entire time, that's what I was doing. So the work was just like responding to forum posts and, just posting dumb stuff on social that I thought would give me engagement.
Cat
I
memes.
said, yeah, pretty much, with some kind of SEO twist on it. uh, I said, this is especially harder to do when you're working at another job, which I was, because your free time becomes your growth time. So then where is your free time? And I said, I really don't know what my advice to you would be on this one. I sacrificed 2 hours of sleep so I could put 2 hours per week night into the agency. That's 10 hours per week plus 10 hours on Saturday. So like I'd get up early, work 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. So 20 hours a week on the agency per week while working somewhere else. That's 60 hours a week for all of you mathematicians out there on like actual just like work. So this made it so I didn't sacrifice my normal time with friends and family. I stayed up later and I lost 2 more hours of sleep. Now that I'm with Lauren, we like to spend every chance together that we get, so we get to go to bed together, which means staying up and working late doesn't really work for me now. I also prefer to work out after work, around 5 p.m., but that's right when she comes home. So if I decide to work out at 5 p.m., we lose 1 to 1.5 hours of being together because of how I prioritize my day. So what I've done is instead of staying up later, like I used to work on the agency, I just wake up earlier. Now I wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, and then work until 9 a.m. on Evergrow. And then, and the podcast. So both of those. That gets me back home, showered, and ready for the day by 7 a.m., and I get my 2 hours of work. Now, when Lauren comes home from work, everything I needed to take care of has been taken care of, and we can spend our normal time together. The key to not burning yourself out is making sure you change your schedule so other people don't have to. That way, you don't have to sacrifice hours away from people you care about that make your life a little better. That was sappy, and I need a shower.
Nice.
Yeah. So basically, I don't have that time to relax, but I realize that what makes my life better and the things that keep me from burning out are being around the people that I enjoy being around. And if you take away that time, then you will be burnt. You will get burned out. So adjust your schedule. This just worked for me too, but it can work for it cannot work for somebody else. Adjust your schedule so you're working when people aren't available. The people that you care about aren't available. That way, you have that availability open. Thoughts? Yes. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, you can't give anybody a straight answer to how to make it work, right? If that's what she wants to know. One is don't. I'm the most demotivational person when it comes to this because I can't tell you how many people told me, right? Wow, Cody, that's so cool. You work all day and then you go home and then you work more. And I'm just like, you think I like this? You think like of all, like I'm just so stoked to just live like this. No, it's not. That's not what it is. But the truth is that I actually do prefer it more than anything else. And I think if you can do anything else, then you should just go do it and accept that that's what you actually want. But if it is what you actually want, everybody ends up doing exactly what they want. It's your life. You make your own decisions. Now, whether or not your priorities line up with your actions, that's a you problem. And you have to figure that out. And nobody else can tell you how to design your life in the way that that needs to be done because it's also situational, right? I don't know people with day jobs, right? This is one where they say, I just don't have that much time. Well, have you thought about taking a less demanding job for less pay? Right? Maybe you have golden handcuffs at your job and you're making great money and you say you want to be an entrepreneur, but the fact is you don't actually want to do the hard work because part of that is temporarily taking a pay cut for a very easy job while you have just enough to grow your business. Huge risk, right? And if you're not willing to do it, and that's just one example, it's fine if it's not for you. But you need to know yourself well enough to come up with those solutions yourself because nobody else can tell you.
I think it gets especially trickier when you have kids too, because it's like you can't like necessarily just wake up earlier or like, go to bed later. It's like you now have to build your schedule around the demanding demonic child. So I feel for people who have young children who are trying to get out on their own and do their own thing. I think maybe that's where you take the less demanding job. At the same time, now you got financial implications, and it just gets harder. I mean, people do it all the time. There's always a way. It just depends on like how much you are willing to sacrifice or trade off. And for me, it
Yeah.
was 2 hours of sleep, and when I preferred to work out.
Yeah, if you have kids, don't ask me. I can't tell you. I know people who can. I can connect you with them. There's when I was in Japan, I met this guy Yuma. Dude's a freak, total machine. I swear he sleeps like 3 hours a night. He's got kids. He crushes everything. Uh, Amazing. I can't do that. Uh, so you gotta find the people who are closest to what you want to emulate, and then ask them.
Yeah. Yeah. Ready for number
Yeah,
9?
hit me.
All right. I just like reading all of these because I like the little the backstories to them. All right. I'm working to make money. That's the ultimate
Great.
goal. I want to be able to afford luxuries such as a nice house, nice car, spa days, affording time with my future kids and spouse, and not worrying about the next paycheck. With that being said, building a company and increasing revenue takes time. How long into being a digital marketer should I realistically expect to be higher than the average salary in Minnesota, which is around $63,000? We'll leave it at that because there's a part 2, but we'll leave it at that for now.
Expect. I mean, I hate to quote Gary Vee, but he said this, right? Some people, I think, expect 3 years. Some people it's 2 years. Some people it's 6. Some people it's more. You don't know. Uh, I think if that, again, if that's the limiting factor for you, if that's the determining factor, if I tell you that it's 10 years, then you decide, no, this isn't worth it for me, then I don't think that you're really cut out for it in the first place, right? You do it because you have no other choice. How you perceive yourself, that you feel obligated to do this because this is what you have to do. And those things, they might be what drive you. And you do need that. But whether or not, the timeline is within what you want to achieve, it's such a sliding scale. Um, but yeah, if you want the simplest answer, um, 3 years, give or take, depending on variables that may or may not be within your control.
Yeah, I got really granular. I gave her some very specific numbers that we made in the first 3 years. And I won't be as specific, but I'll give you kind of rounded numbers. I mean, Cody and I talked about this in episode 34, I think, when we were in Colombia. And but I basically said 1,000 days. I mean, 1,000 days is like what we've said before. The guys at Tropical MBA say that it takes roughly 1,000 days to replace your day job income with whatever you're doing. And that's like if you're doing the right things, right? And what we don't know what the right things are until they're already done. So I basically said this: is that hey, when we started working together in 2019, we were at $0. That's what it was. So at the end of 2019, we cashed out at about $40,000 that we made together with Evergrow. That's about $20,000 each. 2022, we did a bit better. We ended up at around $60,000. This is all gross profit, so this is money technically in our pockets. So which means we each got $30,000. Okay, cool. We had basically a $10,000 raise at the end of year 2. At the end of 2021, this is our biggest, most explosive year, and we've been very candid about this year and how much it sucked. We actually closed out at 140,000 in gross profit. So each of us got $70,000, technically, in the eyes of the government. Don't worry, I'll get more specific. You look like you want to say something.
Like, are you sure?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
but just let me continue.
I believe you. Like,
Okay.
but I forget that how much we keep in the business, and that's
Yeah.
why.
Okay, that's where we're getting.
Okay,
So
I'm
I
shutting up.
I basically said at year 3 we were making higher than the Minnesota average salary. That's 1,000 days, roughly give or take a few dozen days. So yeah, it takes 1,000 days in the eyes of the government. But we also operate our business off of the profit first system, which means, and we'll have a whole episode about this because I think this is a very important system for you to implement in your agency. But when you own a business, you don't get to just keep all that money. You have to allocate it towards certain things. You've got operating expenses, you've got marketing, we have savings, which the government just sees as profit, but we keep it in the business. You've got payroll, you've got uh, employee bonuses if you have something for that. And so, just to put it in perspective, we put about 20% into payroll, 10% into operating expenses, 8% into savings, 1% into marketing, and about 9% into a profit account, which does go into our pocket every 3 months. And then we have our owner withdrawals, which is basically everything left over. So when you take those percentages out, our profit plus owner draws is actually about $84,000, not $140,000, which means Cody and I both take home at the end of 2021, at the end of the third year, $42,000. So Cody was giving me a weird look. And he was like, "Are you sure about that?" That's because we actually only pocketed about 42,000 of the $70,000 each that the government said that we made. So, and I go into the whole thing like, because we're an LLC, we're taxed on the entire $140,000, whereas if we were an S corp, we wouldn't be.
Yeah, we
Um,
haven't yet elected to S corp.
right.
Yeah.
This is kind of where my advice of like learning accounting and learning some of this stuff, like or economics or something like that, like really would be important if I took early on, because this is all stuff we had to learn while doing the business. Thank God we had a very helpful lawyer at the beginning and a very helpful accountant at the beginning, because I don't know if we would be where we are today if we didn't learn a lot of this stuff from them, and who are willing to consult with us for basically free.
Mhm.
Um, so I said, hey, but remember though, I said, it pretend like we had $5,000 left over in the operating expense account. So if we allocated $14,000 to operating expenses, because I said that's 10% of 140,000, and when we spent 9,000 of that, there's $5,000 still in that account, and then we put 8% into savings. So that's an additional $11,000. That $42,000 or that $84,000 actually becomes about $100,000. So our taxable income each is about $50,000, even though we only took home 42,000. So instead of taking like the standard like 21% out of your paychecks, Cody, I think you put like 50% away or something like that every time you get paid out. I
Oh, yeah. Right now, I changed. It used to be 50%. It was just too much. It was excessive. That's where Jeff came back and he's like, "Hey, dude, you gotta. That's not even smart at this point." So,
yeah,
right now I do 40%, just to be extra covered.
so when I first started, I did 35%, because what we're accounting for is this extra $8,000 discrepancy where the money stays in the bank, but the IRS says, "I don't care. I'm still going to tax you for the entire amount because you're an LLC." But now I do 30%, and I think overall I'm actually taxed like 26% or something like that. But the the benefit of having like an accountant like this is because they can set it up. So, well, I'm sure you could set it up yourself too, but we pay quarterly estimates. So we estimate how much we're going to make this year based on just projections. And then we pay. So like Cody and I have been paying our 2023 taxes since the start of the year, where normally most people will pay it the next year in 2024 when they usually get like a tax refund. So like we pay it ahead of time, and then whatever's money is left over by the time tax tax season comes around, that's our quote unquote refund. It's just we just put more money away than we needed to. So I at the end of all of this, I said this is why most freelancers turned agency owners fail. They keep trying to be a marketer and not a business owner. And I said Cody and I are in year 5 right now, and projected to make well over 2 times that. So probably 3 times that. But it's still, we put more money away. Like right now we're hiring multiple people.
Oh, the team
So
has grown. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
so
it's not
it's
not even close to a we that that early step, man, there's like so much that I could go into here. Um
but we didn't do it like this when we first started. Like we
and we
kind
didn't
of
have
like,
to.
yeah, we paid our bills, and then we took whatever was left, and then I was like, I want to do the profit first system. And then I remember you being like, just so you know, like we're gonna take home less then. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, but I think it's important for like the growth and stability of the agency in the long haul.
Are you okay with this being a little longer one? Because I can go off slightly on this because I do think it's important because you were talking about the importance of having an education and knowing some of this stuff fundamentally.
Yeah.
So,
We only got
okay.
one more question after this.
Okay. Yeah. Look, like Jake said, uh, a very fundamental thing that you should know is the difference between, and not even structurally being, well, I mean, that's good to know too, structurally being an LLC or structurally being an S corp. But as an LLC, you can elect, it's called being, electing to S corp, and that just means financially you're operating um, under that perspective, even though you're legally still the LLC. Now, when you do that, it has different tax implications, and it's something that we've put off, and we're getting very close to the point of potentially, quote, losing money because of there's like a threshold where you'll pay less in taxes, and you want to elect to S corp because if you have too high of a salary, you're paying income taxes on it instead of corporate. Or sorry, what is it? Capital gains. All of that you should research. Those are things you should know. Those are important things to know. Um, as far as the breakdown, in the simplest ways, I think about this is when I look at the profit that we have coming in, I know 25% of it is immediately gone for various places. And that does not include payroll. And I don't mean payroll for us, I mean for our team. So um, you can't even begin to think of, especially once you start getting bigger. And in the beginning, like Jake was saying, um, 10% covered everything we needed. We didn't have much. It was just us. There was no team, there was no complications. So it was fine. But as you know, we had bigger dreams and goals, and we had to start getting more legitimate and professional, then what we actually take home that started to shrink. So you need to think that way, and you need to be prepared for that. And those moves will happen as you grow. The last thing I want to say, and it's just because there's nothing wrong with being motivated by money and luxury. I think that's a good thing. I think greed is an issue potentially, and when your success and your wealth comes at the expense of other people, that's a problem. But just that by itself, there's nothing wrong with it. When you operate a business, though, and you want to grow a business, and you're not just going to stay a freelancer or entrepreneur, you want a real legitimate operation where you employ people and you do, you put on the big boy pants. You need to get to a mental place where you disassociate yourself with the money immediately coming in, right? And this is one of the biggest um, issues I see, even with companies that are way bigger than Jake and I. Is you talk to the owners, and they have no walls internally between where their money is going. They just see it's just this huge hoard, and they're a dragon, and they freely put it wherever they want to. That's a recipe for disaster, because you are not mentally prepared to allocate things where they should be to put your business in a healthy place. Now, what those amounts are, what you want to spend on marketing, what you want to do for savings, what you want to do, what you want to target for payroll, that sort of thing. It's all dependent on the business. It's dependent on your goals. It's dependent on your definition of security and safety and balance. You'll have to decide those things, and you can do it with some guidance, but some of it is ultimately personal decision. More than anything, you need to get that mental disassociation there where you say, this is not my money yet. This is the business's money, and I'm not emotionally attached to what is happening here with this sort of money. Because if you do that, you're in a slippery slope of being too afraid or not being willing to take the appropriate risks in the right areas of your business. Maybe a hot take, I don't know.
I think I want to have an episode for SEO purposes on just like how much money do you make as a business, as an agency owner, and like we just like rehash all this and add our additional thoughts to it, because I also wanted to say like it's really hard to make that disassociation when you're a solo agency owner. But when you came on board, it became a whole different thing. And I remember like Evergrow would pay for certain things, like it might pay for like a trip or a hotel or whatever, and like Lauren would be like, oh, like thanks, babe, but you didn't have to pay for this. I'm like, I didn't. Evergrow did.
Yeah.
And like it became really easy with the partner to like disassociate the money.
Well, it's a joke, right? When we go out to eat, it's hilarious because we'll pay for the meal or for the whole team, and then people will be like, "Ah, thanks," and we'll make the joke to each other. We're like, "Hey, thank Jake, thank Cody," and it's because we've decided as a company that this is how we're paying for things, and we don't see that money as personally ours because we've already planned and allocated for it. I know
Yeah,
it
it's
might
already
sound
in.
strange, but it's easier. Yeah.
It's already in. Like we allocate 10% towards operating expenses, and so we don't have any reoccurring operating expenses that exceed that 10%. And that operating expense that we allocate, it's based off of MRGP, which is a number that we've talked about before. And when we have onboarding costs, which are like $3,000 to $4,000, there's 10% of that goes into operating expenses that isn't allocated towards anything reoccurring. So we have these situations where we're paying for meals and buying computers or office equipment or whatever like that because those are one-off buys that are funded by the one-off projects. And and we've got to spend it before the end of the year or else we're going to get taxed on it. So it's something to consider when you're a business owner. But that's a whole episode in itself, honestly.
Yeah, I went off. I don't know,
Yeah.
tangent, but yeah, that's what do you say? It comes up, and I think people don't talk about it because they think it gets too nitty gritty and nerdy, and people don't actually want to listen or hear that it's a conversation you should have with your accountant, sort of thing, or maybe even a lawyer in some cases. But
You got to know your P&Ls. You got to know your balance sheet. I think what scares me the most is like when businesses are like, yeah, we have an accounts receivable account, like one business account, and there's like, 300 grand in there. And they're just like, yeah, but 10% of that is for this and whatever is for that. And it's like the only way they know where their money is going is based off an arbitrary balance sheet. And that's it.
mm,
And then they're like, okay, well, this balance sheet better equal this giant pot of money in this account. And we're like, ours is like our T charts and our balance sheets literally match the amount of bank accounts that we have because we've created those physical walls. Well, I guess digital walls technically. But all right, moving on. Never that. Number 10. This one's short. What have you gained from being your own boss? Take this as a very broad question. It can be mentally, financially, educationally, etc.
man, that's heavy.
Yeah. I can read you what I wrote.
Do it.
All right.
What'd you write?
I just said happiness of knowing there isn't someone telling me what to do.
Yeah.
I went on to say more. I said also responsibility. When something is broken or something needs to get figured out, there is no one higher up the flagpole to alert. other than you, which means you need to figure out how to solve the unsolvable problem in your business. I said I've also learned that everything is your fault.
Hmm.
If an employee is constantly messing something up, it's your fault for not having the right processes in place for them to follow and not training them well. If you have done both of those and they're still messing up, then you did a shitty job hiring them. And I said, I can't stand Grant Cardone, nor his book 10X, but he does talk about taking responsibility for everything. And it's the one thing I took from that book. He takes it a little extreme, but it's the thought that counts. So yeah, taking like none of those points besides happiness of knowing there isn't someone telling you what to do. None of those points are like good things to learn. Like they're not like lessons I've learned. It's been more of kind of like, well, that sucks. I guess I have to deal with that.
Yeah. Um, Mike Andy's had a good bit. I can't remember. He's got a in one of his videos where he talks about how everything's your fault when you're a business owner, and
Oh, I
how
remember that.
it's a great thing. I think I'd say two things. The number one is autonomy. You don't need permission from anybody else. You already right now have full control of your life. You can do whatever you want. You have to live with the consequences of whatever you choose, but you are free to do whatever it is that you choose to do. And when you run a business, it just amplifies that. And that's what I've found is I do have more control over how I want to do things. And that freaks some people out. Some people, if you give them that much control over how they want to, construct their life, because when you don't have a boss, when you are the boss, what are your hours? When do you work? Well, what are your limits? What you decide all those things. And if you need somebody else to determine those for you, that's a very scary thing and not a good fit. Um, Now, if you struggle with somebody telling you what to do, like Jake just said, um, it's magical. But I think it gives you an amplified sense of what you are. I'm saying you, but I'm saying myself. What I've been able to do with my life, the direction of it, and um, what I'm capable of. And that's the last point, which is I'd say confidence. I have a new level of confidence that I never had and never would have been able to get just as an employee. It's terrifying and freeing at the same time when you have a client who's relying on you fully and you don't get to say at any point, that's not my job. You don't say that's somebody else. I have to, direct them. You can draw those lines. That can be your choice. But especially early on when you're working, it's a very personal thing. Starting out, your first few clients, it's a very interpersonal connection, and usually they're relying on you nearly 100%. Now it's different. Say you've got 10 years experience at a big agency, you go and you become a high ticket freelance consultant sort of thing, and you've already narrowed your lane and you're basically just carving out a small spot, and you're not trying to build a huge thing. But if you're starting uh, from zero and you're working with other people who have zero, you have to become confident in giving them solutions and answers and finding those out, because it is your job. And that's been extremely cool, because if nothing else, I think it's really nice now just knowing that the worst that I can fail now, the absolute worst that I can do, if this business blows up, Jake and I, we become huge failures. In a worst case scenario, I go get a 6-figure job at some big company, and I'm going to be bored for 80% of the day because I'm just making decisions, right? That is the worst I can fail at this point, is to go get a really cush job. Um, you know, uh, you could say that we could lose a lot of money with this risk.
I learned a lot about sales and consulting, and the confidence came with that. I was never a salesperson, but when Cody joined. I had a conversation with him, and just based on how he was and who he is, I thought to myself, shit, I have to do the sales. And it worked out. I'm gonna cough. I wasn't getting choked up. I was holding back a cough.
He was joking up. It's fine.
Yeah. All right. But that I've gotten really confident in sales, and like now I can talk in front of people, and I can make sales for anybody as long as I know the product well enough, and nobody knows the product better than the people who created it. So that's what I've learned and everything. But that's it. That was all of them.
That's it. That's fun. Kind of like doing that.
Yeah.
Hopefully people like it.
There's some really good questions. I hope other people who have been wondering about those have got their questions answered. I've got a couple more that I want to do an episode on that a few other listeners have asked. It won't be like a answering customer question or answering listener questions type episode. It'll just be an episode on that topic because it's a good topic to talk about.
And it's nice when we get new ones. Some just get burnt out, right? You can only say,
not that we're running out of ideas or anything.
Yeah, no. But people's problems are oftentimes the same, I guess. So when we get
with unique perspectives, it's always like
when it's
always
when that's when it's good. That's when it's fun. So, yeah. That's what I have to say about that.
All right. Well, I think we'll just end it there. So, everybody, thanks for listening once again. We'll see you in the next one.
See you.